Hi, guys. Want to do some quick news for the day and then also go over a macro story, which I think is far more important in the grand scheme of things and all this drama that's been going on in the last couple of days here. But let's dive right in. We've got a Yahoo Finance article. Stocks rally on stimulus, more stimmies. Outlook with NASDAQ up 2% market wrap. And I just looked at my phone. In fact, I'll look at it right now. The Dow is up 270 points. And I think with about an hour left in the trading day. Bloomberg says stocks rallied a day after violence rocked the U.S. Capitol, with investors firmly focused on the prospects for more stimmies and the likelihood that calm will prevail as Joe Biden takes the presidency. Yeah, political calm may prevail, but I would argue that social unrest will get far worse in the future. Unfortunately, I don't think we've seen the worst of the civil unrest, the riots, the looting. It's just the fourth turning, like we said yesterday. Bitcoin tops 40 grand. Just incredible. It's almost fun to watch to see how high it can go. I mean, I own Bitcoin, so I'm increasing my purchasing power. But that aside, it's almost just fascinating to see how it can continue to just go straight up. Talk about going parabolic. There's a lot of emotion involved in Bitcoin, so I'm very comfortable not buying right now and just keeping the amount that I have. I think I've been saying this for a long, long time, that the probability of Bitcoin going to 100,000 over time is good. I don't know that the probability of Bitcoin becoming the global money is as high, but there's a lot of people. Look at the price. A lot of people piling in, a lot of institutional monies, some big pools of money are buying Bitcoin right now, which tells us they're not only bullish Bitcoin, but they're bearish central banks, governments, and fiat currencies. So it'll be really interesting to see how the price of Bitcoin plays out over the next few months. While campaigning in Georgia before the runoff election, we talked about this yesterday, Biden vowed that $2,000 stimulus checks would be sent out immediately if his party won the state. I just wanted to revisit this because it shows us the moral integrity of politicians. Before, at least, they were kind of keeping it under wraps that they were trying to buy your vote. Now, they're just coming right out and saying, who cares? The public knows the charade. And they're all about it. We'll just come right out and say that we will give you money if you we will give you money if you vote for us. And shockingly, the general public doesn't seem to care, nor does the media. This Nick Colas gentleman with Data Trek Research, I wanted to point out a quote from him where he's talking about the market going up regardless of the drama we saw yesterday and the protests or riots, whatever you want to call them. It says politics play second fiddle to economic and corporate fundamentals when it comes to setting asset prices. The country's economic future coming out of the pandemic remains promising. And I mean, whenever I hear this, it completely blows my mind. What he is implying is the economy prior to the cerveza sickness was healthy, that it was fundamentally strong. But I would ask Mr. Colas, if our economy was so fundamentally strong prior to the cerveza sickness, why have we needed 0% interest rates for the majority of the past 10 years? 10 years plus, the past 12 years. If our economy is so healthy, why has the Fed had to take their balance sheet from 800 billion up to over 7 trillion and 4.5 trillion prior to the cerveza sickness? Why have we needed quantitative easing 1, 2, 3, 4, now infinity? If our economy was healthy, we wouldn't need artificially low interest rates. We wouldn't need ZERP, nor would we need all of this intervention from the Fed. So it's just amazing that someone, a talking head, can sit there and say that, well, because the economy is alive, it must be healthy. It goes right back to the example I use of the heroin addict that we got from Schiff. Okay, so you've got a heroin addict. Sure, they're alive, but the only reason they're alive is because they're taking that needle, jamming it into their arm, and injecting more and more drugs. So just because they're alive doesn't necessarily mean they're healthy. Just like the economy, just because it's functioning doesn't mean that it's healthy if it requires the monetary heroin from the Federal Reserve and the government. And I had a couple more things highlighted. Well, my highlight disappeared. That doesn't matter. I wanted to give you some more news. This is just more drama, the political drama that I don't like to really get involved with. But FYI, in case you haven't heard, President Trump came under mounting pressure Thursday after inciting a mob of protesters who stormed the U.S. Capitol, facing calls to resign or for Vice President Mike Pence to undertake extraordinary constitutional moves to oust him from office. Chuck Schumer, the top Senate Democrat, called for Pence and the Trump cabinet to invoke the 25th Amendment, which provides an avenue for the president to be removed. I don't know how much Trump had to do with the violence yesterday. It's up to you. I'm sure everyone has their opinion, but that's what's going on with politics. And every time I see politicians on the right or left, it doesn't matter. Both sides make me equally sick. And I just get disgusted by the entire political process. And it's just, unfortunately, the people we elect are just the dregs of our society. And regardless of what you think of Trump or Biden, I mean, should we expect anything more from these people who, in order to get there in the first place, have to lie, cheat, steal, and have no belief system? They have to have no ethical standards. They basically are there because they're fantastic at telling you whatever you need to hear in order to get you to vote for them. That's the bottom line. So, moving on to something I think is far more important. The Chinese digital yuan. This is something I've been talking about a lot lately. And we go to an article from the Bangkok Post I found this morning. China's digital currency trial returns to Shenzhen. And a total of 100 digital red packets, each containing 200 yuan, will be distributed to residents on Thursday, doubling the number of recipients in the city's first trial. Remember, a few months ago, the PBOC rolled out this digital currency and they held this lottery. So if you won the lottery, they'd give you free 200 yuan for you to go out and spend to just go through this trial process so they can kind of weed out any of the bugs. But if you were wondering if we will see central bank digital currencies, if you thought that was kind of tinfoil hat stuff, you need to pay attention. It's not a matter of if we get central bank digital currencies. It is only a matter of when. And this article illustrates that beautifully, I think. The recipients will have to download. Okay, here we go, guys. I have been saying ever since I started my YouTube channel that we were most likely going to get a central bank digital currency for them to distribute UBI, MMT, stimulus, whatever you want to call it. And what would happen is they would require you to download the Fed app on your phone, And that's how they would get those bank reserves they print to your phone to where you could actually spend them, and they're turning those bank reserves into legal tender. And it would all be in the Fed or the central bank would be able to adjust this because they would have control. In addition to that, you would, by downloading that app, you would have an account with the central bank where they would be able to monitor every single transaction in real time and collect that data, as well as try to manipulate velocity. So you can see that playing out right now as we speak today. The recipients will have to download the official digital yuan app. See what I told you? To their smartphone to use the currency, and they have until January 17th to spend it. Goes back to what I was saying. Remember, they put a date on it to increase velocity. So the central planners can try to manipulate inflation or get it to whatever rate they want just by saying, here's $2,000, you got to spend it in the next 2 weeks, or you got to spend it in the next 5 days, or whatever it is to get velocity high enough to get consumer prices to skyrocket or to do whatever they want them to do for their own needs. Obviously, they're not going to be thinking about the average Joe. They're going to be thinking about themselves. Also wanted to point out that the Chinese who receive these digital yuan, are only allowed to spend them in a certain district and on certain e-commerce platforms. Now, I realize this because they're probably the only ones that are set up to take the payments, but this points out that in the future, I think we're going to have to, what's going to be coming is not only a loss of privacy, because all of our transactions will go to the central bank in real time, but also they're going to be able to increase velocity by giving a deadline on when you have to spend it. And then third, they're going to be able to control spending by allowing you to use the digital currency at some vendors that are, let's say, politically correct, and not use it at other vendors where they may see them as unfit to do business for whatever reason. China wants the e-yuan, known officially as Digital Currency Electronic Payment, DCEP, to help break the US dollar's dominance in the global financial system and to help domestic monetary authorities gain greater control over fund flows. Just what I was talking about, creating inflation. But I think the main point with this paragraph is it shows that China is coming out and basically saying explicitly that they want to break the US dollar's dominance. And I would go so far as to say this is them also saying that they want the digital yuan to be the global reserve currency into the future. The PBOC vowed last month to punish. Oh, see, this was a curveball that I did not see coming at all. The PBOC vowed last month to punish those who refuse to take the cash payments. So I would have thought that the PBOC would encourage people not to take cash because their goal is to ban it, but they came out and did the exact opposite. So it's kind of a head scratcher. I definitely wanted to point that out. And here again, they talk about China's digital yuan aiming to halt the dollarization. I would argue that its aim is more to become the global reserve currency in the future. China was the first country to begin looking into developing the digital yuan in 2016, and a number of the G20 countries have since said they are either exploring or developing testing digital currencies. Non-G20 nations such as Sweden, Norway, Switzerland, and Cambodia have also confirmed they are considering digital currencies. My point in highlighting this paragraph was to show you that China has a huge head start on everyone, including the United States. And in the future, I think most main developed economies or major developed economies, and maybe some that aren't even that developed, will have a digital currency that you will have to use. So what is the main takeaway there? In the future, the probability is very high that your taxes will go up and your privacy will go down. And it's not a matter of if, it's really a matter of when.